Welcome back to Dan Recaps. Today, I'm going to explain the movie The New Guy, released in the year 2002. The movie opens with an inmate named Luther, who is shown speaking to an unknown person while narrating the story of Dizzy Gillespie. Dizzy is a high school nerd who is about to start his senior year at Rocky Creek High School, along with his friends Kirk, Glenn, and Nora. Although he has high hopes for making his high school years a memorable time of his life, the captain of the football team, Barclay, and his friends always seem to squash those dreams with their bullying. Dizzy, who has plans to make the most of his last year of school, tries to ask Tina out. She refuses, but he keeps on insisting. After Tina accidentally touches his arm, Dizzy gets a boner, which makes him the laughingstock of the school. Barclay and his friends add to this misery by ripping off his underwear and wrapping it around his head. Later, the librarian steps in, hurting his penis after he refuses to listen to her. He is misdiagnosed with Tourette's syndrome after the incident, with the school counselor putting him on medication and asking his father to take good care of him. After school, Dizzy visits a mall with his friends but gets himself into even more trouble after messing up at the church revival, which leads to his arrest. At the Creek County Police Station, he befriends a man named Luther who rescues him from being teased by another inmate. As the two get close to each other, Dizzy tells him about what happened at the school and shares that he never wants to go back as he fears students might remember his awkward incident. After listening to his story, Luther suggests he should change schools and make a fresh start, explaining that he did the same thing when life got tough for him at the old prison cell. Dizzy likes the idea and asks for his help to make it work. Luther agrees to help him and says he needs to start by acting crazy, breaking all the rules so the school has no other choice but to expel him. When he gets back to school, Dizzy lets his friends in on the plan and asks for their help, but none of them take him up on it. Disappointed by his friends, he decides to take charge and complete the mission alone. He begins by cheating on his exams and later even tries to bribe the teacher who catches him, but it proves to not be enough and he is only given a warning. On his next day, Dizzy records a video of the principal in the bathroom and shows it to his classmates. Although he thought this would definitely be enough, the counselor instead advises him to double the dose on his meds and spend an extra year at the school. Even though nothing seems to work for him, he decides to give it another try. He spots the principal in the hallway and decides to hurt him with the mop, but the principal spots him and kicks him out of the school for destroying school property, and Dizzy's efforts finally pay off. He returns to Luther and thanks him for his help. Now that the first step is complete, Dizzy again seeks Luther's help in learning how to become the popular guy in his new school. Luther's first piece of advice is to find the biggest, strongest guy at the school and beat him up in front of everyone so they know who's boss. He also introduces Dizzy to his fellow inmates who teach him how to fight, while Luther trains him in his own crazy ways. After mastering the tricks and changing his name and appearance, Dizzy is finally ready for the first day at his new school. To make a strong first impression at his new school, East Highland High, he arrives in a heavily guarded police van, trying to show off how dangerous he can be. Following Luther's advice to pick a fight with the strongest guy, he spots Connors and challenges him to a rumble, but gets knocked out by a single punch and is again mocked by the students. He quickly gets back up and knocks Connors down using a technique he learned in prison, but by now, everyone is gone. Dizzy doesn't give up and drags him to the main building where he kicks him in front of the students. After being beaten by Dizzy, the old bully Connors is ditched by his friends who go to talk to Dizzy, who introduces himself as Gil Harris. A group of girls, including the head cheerleader Daniel and her friend Courtney, visit Dizzy to invite him to a party, but he declines to further express that he's cooler than them. After a successful first day of school, Dizzy visits his friends to share his excitement about getting an invitation from the popular girls group at school. Later, he decides to show up at the party, and Kirk offers his new bike to add to his personality. He arrives at the party and impresses everyone with his unintentional stunt, but ends up falling in a bush. Soon he makes it back to the party, where he's greeted by Courtney, who offers to take him inside, where everybody warmly welcomes him. Courtney takes him up to the rooftop and offers to make out with him, but he slips off, giving her the impression that he blew her off. While Courtney tells her friends about him, Connors messes with his bike to make sure it won't start, but Dizzy's friend comes to the rescue and saves him from the embarrassment. After finally being the life of the party, Dizzy returns home, but finds himself in trouble as he spots the school counselor waiting for him at his house. She starts questioning his new behavior, which his father attributes to drugs, but he assures them he's not on anything. As he insists on keeping his new attitude, his father thinks he is in denial of his true feelings and decides to quit his job to spend more time with him. Dizzy tries to stop him, knowing it would make life harder on them financially, but his father insists on doing it to help him out. He once again tries to explain that he worked on himself and revamped his personality, but none of them believe him. The next day at school, Daniel comes to him to ask for his help getting students to show up at the school's football game. Connor spots Daniel, who used to be his girlfriend, and realizes he has lost her to Dizzy. On Daniel's request, Dizzy shows up at the game to find the players are already down since the school hasn't won any matches in the past 5 years and are not very optimistic this time either. He comes up with another plan and pulls off a stunt by stealing a horse from the coach. He arrives at the field in his costume to motivate the team to keep on fighting. Thanks to his powerful speech, the newly motivated players win their first match in 5 years. After celebrating the success of the team, Daniel thanks him for being there for her. After the game, Dizzy becomes close with Daniel, and the two start spending a lot of time together. While shopping at the mall, Dizzy's friends show up and try to talk to him, but he pretends not to know them, hoping to avoid being exposed as a fake. Returning to school the next day, he is called into the principal's office where he and the football coach scold him for stealing the horse at the game. Initially, they threatened to punish him, but on revealing it was all worth it to get the team to win the match, then they say it was all worth it to get the team to win the match, and it's all thanks to Dizzy. Impressed by his influence, the principal also seeks his help in planning the homecoming dance. After his meeting with the principal, Dizzy returns to his friends, he is in a band called Suburban Funks, and tells them about his new gig, but they give him the cold shoulder and ignore him. He apologizes for his behavior earlier, but Nora says his new look has changed him and he's turning into the guy he used to hate at his old school. He spends a lot of time thinking about it and then decides to use his influence to change things for students like him. The next time Connors tries to bully another student, Dizzy stands up for him, earning him the respect of many students, considering it a first step to end bullying at the school. Meanwhile, the school's football team keeps on winning and even qualifies for the state championship. Later, Dizzy meets Daniel at her work and tries to tell her about his true identity, but she refuses to listen to him, saying his past doesn't concern her at all. She then invites him to the next game, but he begins to worry after hearing it's against his old school. He says he can't go, but she convinces him, saying that if he goes, everyone else will too. The next day, Dizzy leads his team in a unique way, and his school makes an exciting entrance at the game. He remains on the sidelines the whole time and keeps on cheering his team, which ultimately beats Rocky Creek High School and wins the championship. After the game, the coach gives his appreciation to him for uplifting the team and gives him the ball as a token to show he helped them break their losing streak after all these years. As the team celebrates their success, the rival team captain, Barclay, is upset with his unexpected defeat until he recognizes Dizzy as the nerd he used to pick on. When the team returns to the school to continue celebrating, Barclay shows up and starts arguing with him for snatching the victory. He intends to fight him while trying to reveal his identity, but gets beaten up by other students who stand up for Dizzy. After the fight, Connors picks him up from the ground and asks him to tell him everything he knows about Dizzy. At the homecoming party, Dizzy learns students from his old school have crashed the party, but he decides to perform anyway. His band begins their performance but are soon interrupted by Barclay and Connors, who ask everyone to watch an old video where he was humiliated at his old school. As Barclay reveals his true identity, everyone starts calling him out for lying to them and adopting a fake personality. Meanwhile, Luther arrives with his friends and scares the crowd to make them listen to his explanation. As Dizzy accepts the video is real, the crowd starts jeering at him, but he is rescued by his friends who take him backstage. After cheering him up and showing their support, Nora suddenly confesses her love for him and they kiss in front of their friends. Soon Daniel shows up and tells him that she has been through the same situation where everybody hated her for her appearance and she had to change it to be a whole new person. After sorting out their conflicts, they kiss each other on stage, while Connor and Barclay are punished by Luther and his friends. In the end, Luther is revealed to be talking to David Hasselhoff, while Dizzy and Daniel go out for a horse ride. That was all from the video. Subscribe for more content like this, and leave a like to help the channel out. Also, leave a comment if you want us to recap your favorite movie. Take care!